I will open up this hearing. Ordinance 2239.
This should be good. Stick around for this one. Leave me fireworks for this one.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful of the people, but
Where's he going?
Joel Bassoff, 17 Beach Lane.
You're recognized.
So if the council adopts ordinance 2239 attempting to control decorum, the council will have adopted an unconstitutional ordinance. Your effort to ban costumes, non-medical masks, and props violates the free speech guarantee of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The public knows why you're trying to ban the masks, costumes, and
Can I
props.
clarify that statement, legal?
No, not in this time.
Look, don't take my time for it.
Not in this
Okay.
time.
Jeez.
The public knows why you're trying to ban masks, costumes, and props, even though it's unconstitutional to do that. At previous meetings, members of the public mocked the council by showing up with masks, costumes, and props. You don't like being embarrassed, so you're trying to ban the people who humiliate you. But the best way to avoid humiliation is to stop doing stupid things like trying to clamp down on constitutionally protected symbolic speech.
Let's try that first.
The more you try to suppress constitutional rights to free speech, the more vigorously the public is going to fight back. And if you get sued, you will lose. Now, you adopted an ordinance to cut public speakers back from 6 minutes to 4 minutes. That means to get our ideas across, we're going to have to speak at least 33% more efficiently. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So to illustrate why this ordinance 2239 is wrong, I'm holding up an American flag to represent the Constitution values that we should be loyal to.
Warning, and if you continue, I will have to forfeit. You'll have to forfeit your time.
Well, I'm adhering to my Constitution.
Your time.
It's my Constitution.
If
It's
you
my
continue, I will
constitutional
ask
right
you
to
to
do
sit down.
this. If you get sued, you will lose. My suggestion to you is that you get a second opinion from competent counsel because you are wrong. You are interfering with the decorum of this meeting by interfering with the right to speech of a member of the public. You're the one interfering with free speech, and it should stop now. I'd like to continue. So, this is an arbitrary, this is an arbitrary, capricious decision, and it violates the law.
Beat him up.
Your time should be forfeited. Your position should be forfeited. By your actions, you forfeit your right to preside over this meeting.
Please have him removed.
Arrest that man. Arrest that man.
Back to my seat. No, my time's forfeited.
You can have him removed.
No, my time's forfeited.
Mr. Bassoff, you continued after your time was forfeited, you continued after the officers told you to sit down, you continued after the council president repeatedly asked you to stop. You've now been asked to be removed from the chambers. So,
There's no reason to remove me from the chambers because I am not interfering with
clearly
the quorum.
chosen to
I'm
violate
ready-
the rules of the quorum
Excuse
of the
me,
chambers.
excuse me. I'm ready to sit here quietly and I will not interfere with your decorum, so I have a right to be here.
Can I make a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, this council meeting has been recessed for 5 minutes. We'll be back at 7:04.
Oh, I thought you were getting tased, bro. I thought you were getting tased.
Yeah.
I want more money for you.
I know.
Unfortunately for the taxpayers, they got to pay for it, though.
Which means I have
They-
to pay
yeah,
for it.
you gotta
too,
pay
but,
for it.
Nah, what are you
For
gonna
their
do?
ignorance.
Anyway.
Oh, you should have tased him, bro. I wouldn't have left. They're going to arrest me because I'm shutting my wheelchair off, so they're going to have to arrest me. They're going to arrest me because I'm turning my wheelchair off, so they're going to have to arrest me because I ain't turning it back on. So, he's not even wearing socks. He's not even wearing socks. That's ugly. There should be an ordinance for socks. Oh wait, I would fail too. Oh, never mind. Wow. Wow. Sorry.
We're trying to do, you're getting the word out.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Amazing. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, Poinier's talking. Let's see what he has to say.
You never had these problems. And when what's-his-name showed up, you knew enough to just let him talk, get it out, and then we'll go on with our meeting. But these people that don't have brains, which I consider you to have a brain, want to fight with him, which is his job, to make it worse so he can get his podcast done. So now, you're the leader of this. And everybody is saying the same thing. Why is he doing this? This is not John Pointer. This is not the man that we put up on a pedestal that he was. I mean, I'm friendly with Rich Brescher. I respect him. I can't stand Joe Boyle because he's an idiot. I like A.G. Patel and I respect him mostly, but I've never, ever had disrespect for you. And when you told me that night that you were the one that put it up, I was like, somebody is forcing him to do it. This is not John speaking. And if it really is you speaking, why? You're showing us disrespect like your president. I just don't get it.
The only thing I guess I can say from I'm not going to go into the numbers and everything that my research does. For me, I can really try to lead by example, which is why I'm trying to be as straightforward as my statements.
But you've always led by example, and people respected you because you led. You were respectful, so people were respectful to you. He's not showing respect. Yes, the way the council went completely berserk and he lost complete control last week. Oh, I turned around and I said to the policeman, you know, you might have been here for Christo, but you guys better get up there because they were going to go to fisticuffs. That's how bad it was. And he had to cancel the meeting because a council person and the chief of police almost went to fisticuffs in a public meeting. So he cannot, and I don't know him personally, but he's not showing respect to citizens where you did and people in the past did. And I just don't get it. When you look to see what the people at home are looking at, do you realize they're not watching the meeting? They're watching a bunch of heads sitting at chairs. People that have problems with hearing aids aren't getting the chance to read lips.
That's why I started coming.
Well, that's what I was pointing to the thing. January 1st is not a Sunday. And you said it really applies to Sundays. January 1st is not a Sunday. That's what I was pointing at. But we didn't get to rebuttal. So they were voting on something based on what you had said about Sundays, but it said January 1st. It only had said that. But I truly don't understand. But so now in 20 days, this goes into effect. Not tonight, in 20 days. So decorum and everything is out the window as far as this goes. So we don't have to do this until what? The December 11th?
Wow.
Or the December...
Unbelievable. They're getting started again.
Go back this way.
So there's going to be another reading for the ordinance for decorum, which is coming up next. They just kicked somebody out. Well, actually, they didn't remove him, but he forfeited his time. And instead of the police forcibly removing him, they just took a recess. So they did not forcibly remove him. So he didn't have to leave.
Officers.
Trespassing.
Rejecting him from the meeting?
Is he being trespassed?
Not right. I just don't object. Did you check with the chief?
Yeah.
Did you say why?
The council president said.
You being trespassed?
Yeah, but on what grounds?
On what the council president said.
Yeah. That's something that has to be appealed.
You being trespassed?
You bring it up.
Trespassing? You trespassing?
No, I'm not interfering with decorum.
They're kicking you out?
And you're not allowed to if someone's not interfering with decorum. I was sitting quietly.
He said you interfered up at the podium. He said you interfered up at the
Well, he
podium.
said that, but did you see me interfering with decorum? You didn't see it.
Yeah.
Maybe show the cops the Constitution. Maybe they need to read it.
Yeah, no.
They took an oath to it.
I know you got to do what.
No, they don't. That's an unlawful order. It's an unlawful order.
Yeah, of course.
Where did that? Go ahead. We'll get it for you.
You gonna drag my wife out too?
No, she's not being.
No, I think if I'm leaving, she's gonna want.
All right, we'll get her.
Yeah.
Let them tase you, bro. Let them tase you. Go for it. Take one for the team.
Yeah, I know.
Take one for the team. Come on.
Tempting though it might be. I'm a pacifist by nature.
I'll get tased for you.
Yeah.
They'll tase me tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's just being vindictive.
I just want to reiterate again.
You think anything wrong if I just went in and got my stuff?
Look at all the time
You see, he's just being vindictive because he didn't like what I said. You really should
I'm
be doing that.
not gonna agree or disagree.
Yeah, no, I understand. But are you sure you checked with the chief about
Who
that?
cares if someone wears a mask? Who cares if someone holds up a flag?
So, anyway.
Who cares if someone holds up a constitution? Give them their 4 minutes and let's move on. What is the big deal? It is juvenile to fight this war. You're losing. It's just making people more agitated, more determined to do something to provoke getting thrown out. I don't understand why that's not getting through. You see all these people here? They're here because of this ordinance. The 4 minutes, the no rebuttal, the stifling of the conversation that you think is going to stimulate the conversation. No one's buying that. Not a single person is buying that. You must think we're all stupid, which is another insult. Let it go. Give people their time. Let them rebut. Let them rebut in whatever they want to wear, and let's move on. It is a waste of taxpayer time. It is a waste of your time to keep going around and around and around, threatening to throw people out, giving them warnings, then throwing them out, then making a big scene. Give everybody their 4 minutes and let's move on. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Hello, my name is Anthony Fiorello. I live at 55 Sturgis Road, and I'm going to be short. I could be long, believe me.
You're recognized.
But I just want to say I don't approve of what you just did with the vote. I think it was also unconstitutional for you to do that to everybody here. And I think we still have a democracy where I think majority rules, and I think if we took a vote, everybody here against you, we would win, because we would vote no against that ordinance, because they don't want it, and I don't want it.
I think we're on.
So anyway, I just want to move on to the other thing. I just want to say one thing, or another thing. This is still America. America the beautiful. We still have a right to speak, and no one should silence us or tell us how long we can talk. And I know one thing. I respect this flag. Many people died for this flag,
Sir,
for this country, and I gotta say one more thing.
I will have to
The
give you
last
more.
election, you saw what happened.
Sir.
Don't think you can't all be replaced,
Sir.
because when the next election comes,
We put it-
you'll be out.
Thank
Thank you.
Mary Ann Hennessy, Carmel Drive.
Your Reverence.
Thank you. I must admit, I was not here when the masquerades came in. I saw it on, I think I saw it on the TV or YouTube or something. And I have a simple question. We have a right, at least I know we have a right, of freedom of speech and how you present yourself. I didn't approve of them showing up in their costumes. I think that's foolish. But I think they were driven to it by the attitude of this council. I really do. They figured you were pulling back our rights, and they thought they would come in and show everybody exactly what they thought of you, the entire council. Whether some people voted for it or against it, it was showing the council. And that, I think, is basically a human right. You can't take that away. And I really do think possibly, I'm not a lawyer, I didn't take legal classes, but I can tell you that I have a feeling that you're on the borderline and your lawyer may not be giving you the best advice. I think you may face a lawsuit for violating parts of my constitutional rights, and not just by me, everybody in here, by what you've done and what you've said. And I really am disappointed, but I knew it would go the way it did. The vote always goes that way. Seriously, whatever the mayor wants, the mayor gets. The mayor gets it through the council, and that is, a friend of mine used to say it all the time, that's in my humble opinion. Seriously, it's in my humble opinion. And I have lived in this town for 52 years. And I have yet to see the town being abused by your saying that you consider the American flag and the Constitution a prompt when somebody raises it. Really. It is not a prompt, it is our right. And the Supreme Court gave us the right to burn the flag. Remember that. The flag can be burned. And you're calling it a prompt. It's an insult to what the flag is, what the flag stands for, and what this country is. You may not like what I'm saying, but I'm telling you that it's exactly what it is. It is an insult to me and to everybody here, to everybody who served in the military and were killed or wounded. For you to consider the use of the American flag a prompt is disgusting.
Amen.
This is J. Golamudi, 45 Karen Place.
Your Reverence.
I did not know what the agenda was. I came here to discuss something else upon request from Bonnie. Anyway, I was listening to all the arguments here. You people are great. You are public servants.
doing a noble job. Your profession is a noble job. But all these people are speaking on one side and only few are opposing it. And as Mr. Asal, right? As Mr. Asal said, not many people are taking more than 4 minutes. So what difference it makes if 2 people out of 10 takes 6 minutes?
Just so you know, this is on ordinance 2239, which is different than the one you're talking to. So we will have to stick to the ordinance 2239.
Yeah, no, all I want to say is, you are public servants and doing a noble job. But I sense the egoism. Put the egoism outside and listen to the public. Then you will win. Everybody will win. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
He's not the one to talk. Yours.
No, not on this one. Not on this one.
I'll tell you yours first.
I didn't speak on this one. I spoke on the first one. The time.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle.
You're right.
On this ordinance, we're talking about decorum. The definition of decorum is behavior that people consider to be correct, polite, and respectable. The people that are usually here, when they get up to speak, whether it's 4 minutes or 6 minutes, usually are polite and respectable. And at that same time, the dais can sit comfortably and listen. If someone should get up and not be polite or respectable, your easiest way out, and I've learned through personal experiences, is to let the people speak and not to aggravate them, because sometimes that's what they're looking for. They're looking for an argument to make their point, whether it's respectable or not. So what you're doing is allowing the public now to get riled up, and people that are ordinarily respectable and intelligent, you're upsetting. You're not showing respect. You're not being polite to them. And respect goes 2 ways. I've been at many meetings where you're not polite to one another. You're not respectable to one another. You're not respectable to us. But it seems like the people that try to be are getting put down. Now, I had a simple question that I wanted to ask before, and I wasn't given the respect to get an answer about the time clocks. That helps. And your decorum, we wouldn't have to wait for Marlena to say 1 more minute. We could gauge our speaking knowing how much time we have left, and we would remain polite and respectable. So, just as you do not respect us by voting that last one down, let's see if it comes 4-2 again this time. Thank you.
My name is Edward Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey fighting for cannabis patients' rights, the rights of the disabled. I wouldn't be able to do any of the work I do for the disabled without the First Amendment. I've won awards from Josh Gottheimer, a congressional award from Josh Gottheimer for my work with the disabled. I've won a joint resolution from the Senate and the Assembly for my work with the disabled. None of these things could have been done without the First Amendment. So when you start attacking the First Amendment, I'm all in. My ears are up. I'm fighting you, and I'll be here every time fighting you on that, because we couldn't fight for the disabled without the First Amendment. I couldn't protest police stations without wheelchair access, without the First Amendment. I couldn't protest post offices without the First Amendment, because there are post offices without wheelchair access as well. These are things I couldn't do without the First Amendment. So yeah, you're attacking me and you're attacking all the people that I fight for. The problem I have with this is there's words in Sam Joshi's police report that I probably wouldn't be able to say under this new law. In Mayor Sam Joshi's police report, it says things like, she was laying in the fetal position, he came up behind her and penetrated her anus with his penis. Are those things that we could say, I mean, in this police report? Or do I have to say balloon knot or hairy starfish? Or what words do we have to use to say anal now, since we're like back in high school? Is this okay to say anal? In Sam Joshi's police report, it says the word anal. Can I say that word? That's my question. Can I say that word? Or is that going to be a problem in the future?
I believe you can say that word as long as you don't use it to attack and intimidate anyone.
Okay, so let me finish then. She agreed to meet.
I believe you are going off of a tangent here. You don't have to continue reading that.
Well, there's things in here that I can't say. Like he says she said that you're in the wrong hole. And do you have a condom? That's offensive to me. I'm offended. How come you're not offended by that? I'm offended. Are these words we can say?
Can you pause this time?
Give me the 7 dirty words that we can't say anymore, please.
Using the time meant to speak about the ordinance to make his own point about things that he wishes to speak about that are only tangentially related. So, I mean, he could easily ask these questions simply by using the word rather than reading directly verbatim from the report itself. He's making a point here. That's what he's choosing to do.
If you want to come back during the open public portion of
What are the
petition and remarks, you're more than welcome to make your statements, but I believe you're trying to use this time to make other statements.
Well, no, like George Carlin had the 7 dirty words. What are the 7 dirty words we can't say? Is there dirty words that we can't say? I need to know the list so I know what not to say. How do you make a list and not give us the words that we can't say?
Generally, you should be allowed to speak your mind as long as you're not using words to intimidate or anger or essentially incite someone into anger.
This is not exciting or inciting? This excites me. This makes me mad. I don't know how it doesn't make you mad.
Yeah, as long as it's not directed at the witch at all.
But it's directed at the mayor. This is the mayor's police report. It is directed at the mayor. It's his police report. Does the town know that this even happened? Is the town aware that the mayor has a police report with all these words in it?
Point of order is called.
I respect the comment that's being made. We are talking about a allegation, I guess. So
The words, the dirty words.
Sorry, you're looking to me, Councilman?
I know that is not allowed to. I'm not trying to take away your time. Just gone off from
We're off on the tangent.
on the ordinance itself. I understand we're just trying to go with the comment, but the statements are not directly related to the ordinance. If it's
Yeah, and that's a valid point, Councilman.
So I
As
think
I said
if you
before.
want to continue, you can ask specific words, we can answer those, but I don't think you can continue reading from the statements.
What are the dirty words we can't say?
Again, I think you're allowed to use any words as long as they're not inciting or directed at someone.
But these are. And these can easily be, you can easily throw me out for saying these words. Or anybody, if you feel like it, right? It's very arbitrary. It doesn't make any sense that you could just throw anybody out for any reason if you don't like the words. So, I don't know. So I guess I'll come back for my 3rd bite at the apple, and we'll talk more about Sam Joshi's police report and all the horrible words in there.
Anybody else?
No. That was a mistake. That was not what was on the agenda. You made the mistake.
I make a lot of mistakes.
You recognize.
I live with them, don't worry.
I'd like some clarity in decorum. Is there rules? Is there going to be a 300-page book, pamphlet to tell you how to act in a meeting, how not to act, what to say, what not to say? This seems to be about control. It doesn't seem to be decorum. Many of us are over 40 years old. This is the first time, the first meeting I've seen somebody removed who's the most well-dressed, well-spoken, well-articulate, and professional, and you did just the opposite. I had asked you before, don't do that then. Don't treat him or anybody else with disrespect. Treat people like you want to be treated yourself. I'm not just pointing to you, I'm just looking at you.
I understand.
I'm 62 years old. I've never been thrown out of a meeting. I haven't been to many meetings like everybody else here, but I already had parents. I don't need anybody here to tell me how to act. I have 4 sons. I try to be a good role model with them and tell them do the right thing and behave and watch what you say. We watch what we say. You know, we're very respectful. Okay, decorum, is that necessary for the meeting, for the flow of the meeting, or is this necessary to have to control the meeting?
So these are essentially rules that will help guide the meeting. It's not necessarily anything else. We could have no rules, but then it will be chaos, because then we will not know who speaks in what order, who gets to speak. What if one person gets to speak longer than the other, and that person who got shorted on their time would feel that it's not fair, that how come I get to speak for 4 minutes, the other person has to speak for 6 minutes. So essentially these rules are clarifications as to what we should expect a good meeting to hold. That we will take turns, we will recognize the person after they speak their name and address, and once they give that address, then they'll be recognized that they're allowed to use their time to say whatever they want, even including criticizing us.
I have a question. And it's a legit question. How is the American?
I'm gonna have to warn you that those are props. And
I'm
those
asking,
are
how does this disrupt the flow of the meeting?
Okay.
How does this disrupt the flow of the meeting? Holding this, it's my expression of freedom of speech, my First Amendment. It's not disrupting, it's not
taking a recess.
It's not offensive. If it's offensive to somebody, then you're in the wrong country.
Okay. Do you want a response to that statement?
Yes, and I appreciate you letting me finish my question. I'm not finished, but I'd like to hear you.
Simply holding on to something in your hands, simply holding on to the flag. It can be disruptive, it can be distracting, but the use and deliberate use of things as a prop, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a bowling pin, it could be a giant clown shoe, it could be an American flag. Regardless of what the actual thing is that is being utilized for your own purposes as a prop, that is what is prohibited. Showing up and waving something around to try to make a statement with whatever it is that you decide to bring in to use for those purposes is what the problem is. You want to stand there and read from the Constitution? Have at it, sir. But the deliberate gamesmanship of bringing in tiny American flags and constitutions to wave around simply because at the last meeting it was expressed that, look, we can't make a distinction or determination between what we find to be an acceptable prop and an unacceptable prop. That dances dangerously over the line into content-based discrimination from the dais. And so all of it is going to and so all of it is considered a prop, and you're asked not to use it. You're asked very respectfully not to use it. You're warned if we think you're going over the line. You're advised if you continue to go over the line that you'll be forfeiting your time. You're advised once you've forfeited your time that you'll have a seat. And even then, as happened with Mr. Bassoff, he was permitted to come back up on the next ordinance. His time was forfeited for speaking about the first ordinance because he chose to do that, even after having explained to him last meeting exactly what he came in to choose to do. He very specifically asked those questions, received an answer about what would happen, and then came in and did it anyway. And even then, he was still allowed a second time to come up. And as soon as he got up and he started speaking, it doesn't matter what he was saying, he had very valid points to make. And hopefully he will come back to the next meeting and he'll make those points without deliberately flouting the rules of the chamber. And that's what we want. You say you raise your sons to be respectful, sir, to come in, to do things in a respectful manner. But if you were to come in here, if your son came in here and flagrantly disrespected you in front of everyone here, just for fun, just to prove a point, I don't know how you would react. That is the difference between rules of decorum and what you people have constantly referred to as some violation of your ability to speak, and that's not what it is.
I would allow my sons the right, which they have, which many of our relatives have served in the armed forces, and I have three folded flags, which means that 3 family members have died and were given the folded flag. That's a memorial.
I have 2.
Right, okay. But you don't have to agree, just like I don't have to agree with my sons on what they say, but they have that right to respectfully to voice their opinion and say, they have, just like anybody here, has the right to say what's on their mind, to praise you, to say you're wrong, to disagree, to question you. We have that right. It's the First Amendment.
And no one's been removed for saying anything.
Okay.
Saying whatever it is that you come in here to say, sir, is perfectly acceptable, and I'm glad
But
that you
has this been voted on? Is this going to get voted on tonight?
Essentially, the rules of the decorum has been established by the council president. The council president is elected every year to run the meetings and set the rules. So I have set the rules as such. I have asked the council members to accept these rules as an ordinance and to codify them so that the next time we don't have to go through these motions again. It will be an established rule of the decorum that, we will not do this and this is how we will proceed with the meetings. It is simply a way to, I might not be here, so it's not for me to run the meetings, but I'm hoping that the next council president will choose to follow these rules. If they choose not to, I believe they have the right to.
So the secondary part of that is also that it's recommended by the municipal joint insurance funds to have a codified set of rules so that people have an easy reference of what they're looking at, what they're walking into, and what can be expected of them, and how to behave at the meetings themselves. And so that's the second reason why it would be placed into an ordinance rather than simply enforced in the rules.
I'm sorry, your time is up. So
Well,
unfortunately,
you shared my time.
Took you a long time.
Can I give my...
He took his time.
I'll give him the next time.
Oh my God. Tyrants.
Council President, point of order, are we going to go back and forth or questions?
Yeah, no,
We're switching it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do. We answer questions, then we do the back and forth. Whatever you choose.
I will let him finish his thoughts and then.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Wow.
I agree with the council on being respectful, on a choice of words, on a choice of bringing things in that could be offensive. I just can't comprehend somebody holding the Constitution or the American flag, where they're protected by the First Amendment of freedom of expression. I just don't understand how that disrupts the meeting. I don't understand it. Feel free to let me know.
All right, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
letting me finish.
Council, can I make a motion to vote on this?
No, the
public comment.
You can't do
You
that.
can't cut off the public portion. That's
You gotta
required.
Boy, you really want to do a number on us, don't you? Wow.
All right,
Look at this guy. This guy here. Wow.
Council President.
He's like, we don't want to hear this shit.
There's a speakerphone on in the room here. I don't know whether someone's playing the meeting, but
I feel like there's
Hear the meeting.
Yeah, I feel like an echo.
meeting's going on.
All right, so we turn down the volume.
Close the door.
The acoustics in the building, but there's no rug down.
George Ship Freeman.
Address,
George Ship Freeman, Edison, New Jersey.
you recognize.
Yeah, okay. I got a couple of questions. How can you get thrown out for an ordinance that hasn't been passed yet?
Any other questions?
And within the decorum of the actual meeting, is the council going to answer questions? Because even giving questions to them in the mail, they don't answer them. So to me, you're asking for chaos. If somebody politely sends you about 10 questions or something and months go by, and you don't think it's any of your business, and you don't think it's your business to address them, then when somebody comes up, and like council member Patil said, if you answer the person sufficiently, and don't say that little crappy stuff about, oh, I answered the best I can. No, you can answer a question properly because you're getting paid almost $20,000 to research the answer before the person comes to the next meeting, and you have expensive $1 million lawyer. You got all these things going for you, so you should be able to do that. So, and within the decorum of all the 6 people come, and one nuisance here and there, whatever, but not one the whole time. Like someone said, most of us are retired educators. Okay, so how flagrant can we be? That we wouldn't want our students to see us using foul language and all that kind of stuff because we don't do it. So to me, you know, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, that it's just a dictatorship and you hide the people from here. And another thing that bothers me is that you don't even zero in on the person that's speaking. Even when council president is speaking, you don't even zero in on them. I don't even, you're just wasting your time because when all of you look like little ants sitting up there and nobody actually hears or sees what you're saying, you know, and I just think that has to do with decorum. If we're serious about decorum, we should treat the audience, well, maybe better than they treat you guys because they're not even showing you now. So this whole thing has turned into, let me see, isn't December next week? We're doing all of this for 1 month for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're doing all of this.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All this decorum. But my major question is, how can you throw somebody out for something that was not voted on yet? It's not a rule, it's not a law. Okay? If you don't make a law for speeding, and I'm speeding, how can the police come up to me and give me a ticket? Something's wrong with that. Please answer that question.
As I stated earlier, as the presiding officer, I am charged to run this meeting with decorum. And in the last meeting, we established rules and we posted the rules of it outside. So, and I think they're currently out there as well. So they're also posted up there. So these are the rules that I have established to run this meeting well. And this ordinance is essentially codification of those rules, and nothing else. And if the council passes it, this will be put on the ordinance, and it will be there for continuation until the future council decides to amend it in their own right.
Jay Godamudi, 45 Karen Place.
You recognize.
I understand where you are coming from, the point of view, not to use the props. Fine. So, what is the definition of a prop? Is this it?
Yes.
Do you consider this as a prop?
Yes. You use it in a speech as a prop.
Yes, I can say probably while writing your rules and regulations, I can use this. So, is this objectionable?
Yes.
There you go. No offense, no falseness from next time on. Thank you very much.
Backwards in time instead of forward.
No warning? How come he didn't get a warning?
Rob Kenzo, 61 Meadow.
You're recognized.
Lifelong Edison resident. Just a question of clarification. So if I would have taped my Constitution to me, to my chest right here, well, yeah, if I would have taped it here, is that considered a prop? Is this vest considered a prop? My wedding ring?
Yes. Any other questions do you have?
Well, I just want some clarification on exactly, is it a handheld prop you're not allowed to have? Can't bring something up in your hands? I mean, because for 30 years I wore a suit to work. And my kids used to say, hey, Daddy's leaving in his costume. I mean, is that a costume? Are you guys all wearing costumes up there? That's all I got.
Do you want to answer that question?
Good luck. At least he's finally earning his money, this lawyer.
If
Oh, he's a pain
you were using it in your speech
Don't use me in your video.
to
please.
make a specific point, to highlight a specific idea, if you need to refer to it, to utilize it and hold it up for everyone to see, to draw attention away from what you're speaking about, then yes, it's a prop.
Okay.
If you want to take the Constitution to your chest and walk up like that, that's fine.
Yes.
It's not using it for anything. If you want to walk up with something
Winning.
stenciled to your forehead, doesn't matter.
Yes.
That's
Winning.
what you've chosen to
We're
do.
winning.
That's not a prop. That may violate other rules, but it's not a prop.
This is pathetic, this conversation. It's like I'm in high school. It's just like high school.
Sarah Fryer, prospecting.
You're recognized.
I have a suggestion, or I guess more of a question, but if someone were to, ahead of time, tell you that they're bringing a prop, because I understand where a prop can be used, make a presentation or enhance the presentation and make it easier for folks to understand. Being a person who learns differently than others, I can tell you that I learn better by doing, for example, so a visual learner might benefit better from a prop. I'm wondering if it is something that someone tells you ahead of time, somebody who's in charge of that sort of thing. Hey, I want to make this point using this object. May I do that? Is that against decorum? If you know that ahead of time this is something they're going to use. Is it the fact that it's an unexpected item? Or is it just the fact that they have a thing in their hand? Because that in itself, I can see how that is objectionable for people who sometimes use objects. For example, I use objects sometimes to regulate my thoughts and emotions, right? So even if I'm not using it to distract from my point, it might be used for me to make my point. So I guess my question is, I kind of forgot the question.
So you're asking
Right, so if a person is using it to regulate their own emotions, or if they're using it for the folks who are visual learners, as long as you know about it ahead of time, where is the issue with that?
So essentially what he was going to say is that we cannot have content-based regulation where we can allow one prompt, so whatever that may be, and not allow another, because then we are stifling speech, because we're saying, hey, we will allow this, and we won't allow this. So it's as of the way it stands right now, it essentially bans prompts. It doesn't matter what that prompt is. It could be anything. It could be a water bottle. If I'm saying, hey, this water is great, that's a prompt. We're just banning all prompts in general.
If I can add to that, there is always the option to make printouts for the council, turn them into the clerk so that the council has something in front of them. If you need them to have something in front of them to work from, you can have that in front of you to help you. But when you're at the podium, you're addressing the council. You're not putting out a presentation. You're not putting out a presentation for the audience or for Edison TV. You're addressing the council with your questions and concerns. So if you have something that you needed to bring in for the podium to use and refer to, you're not using it as a prop originally. So.
As a rebuttal, who's to say who's the audience? If the person speaking is speaking to a group of people, wouldn't you be my audience? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Anybody else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Susan Del Conte. I live at 916 Dover Road.
You recognize.
I actually have 2 points to make. The first is in terms of decorum. At the last council meeting, when we started and everyone turned to the flag, there was one member on the dais who did not mouth or speak the Pledge of Allegiance. Is that something that's out of decorum? would I be able to expect everyone who is sitting in front of me right now to at least go through the motions? Maybe not necessarily say it out loud, but at least let their lips move to make it look like they're saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I consider that to be out of decorum. And I expect that the leaders who are on here would all practice that kind of decorum if we're being asked to practice a certain amount of decorum. My second question, I guess somewhat related, is I understand that this is the entire, well, the town council is here, but I'm really addressing you specifically because you're the person who is speaking. But I wouldn't ask Mr. Brescher a question, I wouldn't ask Mr. Pentel a question, I would ask you because you're the one speaking. And yet, several times, even during today's meeting, when someone was using the precious 6 minutes that they have to ask a question, relate some kind of a concern or issue, there were members of the town council, yourself included, who looked down, looked away, looked at something, were texting on a phone, doing something, therefore not giving that person the eye contact that I consider to be correct decorum. Now, I joined the rest of my retired teachers here. I did teach public speaking and speech as part of my English class, and I'm sorry, you know what? Eye contact is a very important part of decorum, especially when someone has a precious few minutes to get a point across. And for someone to look away, look down, look somewhere else, I consider that to be a terrible, egregious break of decorum. I'm not necessarily asking a question, I guess I'm making a statement. You're free to address that afterwards. I did have one more thing. Give me just a second, and I'm glad that I have my 6 minutes to pull it back into my head. I may not be able to remember it though. But certainly those two things are points that I feel are worth making and worth addressing. I'd also like to make a statement that I noticed that you're wearing a pin on your lapel. What is the pin symbolize? I can't see it from as far back as I am.
Edison Township.
Okay. So it's an Edison Township pin. Do you consider that to be a piece of your clothing today, or is that a prop that shows that you're supporting Edison?
I'm not using it in the speech, it's just part of the clothing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else?
Moki Kayadi, 2901 Rivendell Way. Yeah, so I was going through the list of what you put out for the decorum. And I would like to highlight section F1, which says fully participate in township council meetings and other public forums while demonstrating respect, kindness, consideration, and courtesy to others. Now, in respect to that, with what has gone on today, the council members have not shown those qualities to us, the people. When you kick out somebody for his opinion or for what he wants to show, where is the respect? Where is the kindness? Where is the consideration? And where is the courtesy? Again, I also want to highlight section H, where you state that each person addressing the township council should do so in an orderly manner. Any person who utters physically threatening, patently offensive or abusive language or engages in any other conduct that disrupts, and goes on, then should be picked up. When we walk in here, we are checked at the door. We are not carrying guns, we are not carrying knives, we are not carrying anything. We are coming for a conversation. You then, as council members, threaten us with police officers who are carrying guns, and we are armless people. We are only coming to talk, and kick us out when you feel you are offended. Is this fair?
Anything else that was?
I'm
Conti, 916 Dover Road, Edison.
You recognize.
Guys, I'm on an executive board for my union. And I understand about Robert's Rules of Order. I respect what you guys are trying to do, trying to reel back in your meeting so you can take care of business. But you got a lot of people here that haven't been here before. Jim Coyle mentioned at the last meeting that all these things that you guys are voting on is because the 8 to 10 people that usually come are taking up 6 minutes instead of 4 minutes. And that's the past thing that you voted down. But what I'm referring to now is the way the public perceives you all as council members. And we vote for you, or we vote for somebody else. So when the time comes around for the next election into these positions, I urge the public to look at voting records. This ordinance that we're talking about right now, and any other ordinance in the past that's been voted on against the majority. And you folks are not the majority. We are the majority. And we're the ones that can vote you in or vote you out. So the next time there's an election, I urge every resident of Edison eligible to vote on the voting records from you folks. And I've learned this because I'm on the legislative committee for my local. And I go to Washington, D.C., and I lobby for labor-friendly legislation. So I vote for senators, congressmen, assemblymen, mayors, governors. I support labor-friendly legislation, whether it's a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. So what you want to do going forward, everyone, is to vote your conscience on the voting record of the people that are representing you. Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak on ordinance 2239? All right, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close the public portion.
I have one.
Good evening, Ben Smith, New Jersey, to have the floor, Council President.
You're recognized.
Thank you. I really feel like this ordinance is very silly, and if I hold this as a sign of law enforcement, you think it's a prop, and if it is, then you're disgracing the United States of law enforcement. So if that's the case, and you want to take 2 minutes out of the public time and use this ordinance, that's fine. But we're going to, like the last guy just said, it's time to take people out of the chairs. This is not what Edison stands for. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take the motion to close the public portion.
Motion to close the public portion.
May I have a second?
Second.
That's motion by Councilman Coyle, second by Councilman Pointer. All in favor? Aye. All right, I'll take the motion to adopt.
Council President, motion to adopt.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, so that's a motion by Councilman Pointer, second by Councilman Coyle. I'll take council comments.
Council President.
Councilman Pointer.
Thank you. In conversations I've had with residents, there's a desire for courtesy, professionalism, and respect during council meetings. My focus with these ordinances is increased total engagement. Proper decorum is of utmost importance to facilitate this. For the record, I again state we on the dais must lead by example. The Sunshine Law states, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of the public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. As such, decorum guidelines can be set. We must consider if any rules infringe one's freedom of speech. Under the context of a limited public forum, which this meeting is, I do not find this ordinance infringes on an individual's right to free speech. These guidelines do not eliminate one's ability to make comment, ask questions, or provide additional information to this body. Any regulation on the public's participation needs to be content neutral and further a government's interest. Having orderly meetings by mitigating potential disruptions or distractions, in my view, furthers the government's interest by allowing this body to perform its duties with focus. Additionally, the guidelines proposed are set in a content-neutral manner, eliminating potential subjectivity, favoritism, or bias. Also, I don't believe we are violating one's freedom of expression either, as you can still verbally express your viewpoints. I believe decorum plays a role in the amount of people participating, whether attending or viewing online. I believe most do not wish to have an environment with an increased likelihood of a future peace. Better decorum in these chambers should lead to better focus and engagement. I believe these guidelines will help effectuate that, which is why I will be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Boyd. Any other council members? Councilman Gresham?
This one here, obvious to me, is that it's content-based prejudice. And I'll tell you why. President came up and he spoke. He mentioned that his children thought that him wearing a suit was an outfit. That is true. Someone else might want to go to work in gym shorts, right? And that's appropriate. But for the whole costume thing, what is a costume? If we dressed like they did in the 1700s, it would be considered a costume. And that's why I say that there's prejudice there and it's arbitrary. And I find that it's odd that an attorney, would say that there would be an issue with the costume. My heart was very moved, though, to hear people that got up and spoke tonight that I would consider immigrants, and I guess that might be a prejudice on my part because they had an accent when they spoke. I don't know that they actually are immigrants, but they had a love for this country, they had a love for our flag, and they had a love for everything that was here, and that's why they came. And I don't think we're upholding those same values here. I think the country is headed in the wrong direction. I think it's laws like this that get voted on by people up here that actually are destroying our country or destroying our party or both parties. When somebody could even say that the United States flag could be a prop under any condition, I just find that horrendous. My father and grandfather both served. They're veterans. My heart goes out to our veterans. And they did this, they gave us these rights. And here we are now. I know I grew up in the 70s, you guys grew up a little bit after me, but I look like we're heading backward in the wrong direction. We're taking rights away from people, and something that I just can't support. I do agree with the public that come the next election, that's how we change things, right? So, for right now, you will have a no vote from me. Thank you, sir.
I'll start with Thanksgiving message to all the veterans who are not with their families this Thanksgiving, who are online and fighting to keep the flag of America flying high. And here in Edison, we are talking about the flag as a prop. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. We all got elected. We took an oath. And I'm going to read a few lines of the oath. I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. You are trying to choke their voice. If we don't like their attire, just ignore. Focus on what they are bringing the point to this dance. I don't care what costume, what you hold in your hand, in your head, on your leg. What I
I, as an elected official, should be interested in what your issue or what your problem are and why you are here. Not about the problem. So Council President, I have a few questions, and to the attorney as well. If I, as a council member, if I bring this flag and hold it to my chest or put it here, will I be escorted? No. So why there is a dual treatment to the people? I said, under the authority of the people. We are elected. We are not appointed. We are elected by the people. And we are literally saying, hey, I can hold, but not you. How good it is. Again, I get it. We have to control the meeting, but again, keep our emotions out. Focus on the issue. Why they are here. Why they are talking about the props, this, that. Again, you may not like the tire of someone, as my council colleague said. Are you going to ask him to go out? I heard that Joel Bessoff, he was escorted. Because of this ordinance, you are going to invite more people in the audience. And in fact, all our law enforcement officers here who are doing a wonderful job. Thank you for your service. You are here to escort us, the resident. You should be doing something else, protecting the resident. But now you are here doing some dirty job, escorting the people. I know that you will not probably agree with your inner mind. But you are forced to do this because someone is ordering to do this. Again, that's a disgrace. And I'm surprised that, Chief, I felt, you are walking with weapon around. And I don't know what happened. Why we needed 4 police officers? I have not seen any time in this council chamber, not even one officer. I get it, you might need one, because we probably might get into a difficult situation. Because of the ordinance like this, we are inviting more trouble, more police officers, and the people who need to be on the ground, they are not there. Now I'm using my hand, hopefully you are not saying this is my problem. But that's the way to convey the message. So this is something I will never ever support. Not this, but anything that will try to choke the voice of people, that will go against the democracy, and that will not offend the values of America. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Platinum. Any other councilor?
Council President.
Councilor Platinum.
As I listen to many people from the audience who speak for everyone, I have to say there are people listening today who may not agree with all of you. And you can't say that everyone who's listening and watching on TV right now wants to see the council chambers decorum filled with costumes and masks. Now, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with what you have to say, but you can't say you speak for everyone who votes for each one of us on this dais. You can't say that 19 people came here today, 25 people, that you speak for everyone. It's just fair to say. You cannot. But
he is recognized, please. There's no dialogue.
At the end of the day, this comes down to costumes and props and decorum. Now, we all know we want you to hold the flag and be part of that Constitution. That's certainly not something we want to take away from you. But if you're going to draw the line with an ordinance, you got to say all props. So I'm looking at this ordinance is that we have to say all props. It's unfortunate that you have to include all props because of what is unforeseen that may happen that comes to this council and what people intend to bring here to use as a prop that people may or may not like. So you know the answer, and if it helps, I'll ask the council president to put the American flag behind you when you speak, and the Constitution behind you on a mount. But this ordinance comes from a timeline of issues that happened in this council that other people I've spoken to do not want around this township. So I applaud all of you being here and speaking for your rights, for who you speak to and the neighbors you speak to. But you can't say you speak for everyone. It's just impossible to say you speak for all the voters today, and all the people watching today right now, in what they believe is decorum. Coming in here in some of the costumes we've seen, okay, yes, some of us believe it's perfectly okay. It's your constitutional right to come here and do that. He wants to wear a mask, walk in his wheelchair, he has that right, understood. But there are people who may not agree with you. So I understand you have the right to speak, you have the right to believe in what you think is correct or incorrect, but you can't say you speak for everyone who's sitting here today watching this meeting, who want this meeting to conduct in an orderly fashion. And that's my point of view here. And I know the props is a fine line, and I'm not happy with the props being a fine line. But if you're going to include props, you got to include all props. And it is sorry for that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Corson.
Council President.
Councilman Pressure. If you can make it clear.
It's going to be quick. Councilman Cole made a good point, and I do understand the attorney's use of the prompt. But at the end of the day, the United States of America was founded on certain freedoms that we have, and we don't want to give up those freedoms. And that's why I ran for office, because I'm here to defend our freedoms that we were given, not to take it back and say because somebody doesn't like a turtle outfit, right? Obama Holio, I think it was, a certain type of thing because they were offended, right? And some of the residents were offended, and I understand if you were offended, but I'm not willing to give up our rights that we were given and this country was founded upon. And that's what I believe this body's doing. And I think we've gotten away from good government, right? And this right here is just plain bad government. This should be like YouTube, 3 million views. I don't know, somebody should make $1 million off of you on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Carter.
Thank you, Council President, for giving me a opportunity to speak again. I will be very brief. I heard my council colleagues saying people who is coming here is not representing the majority of all the residents. But I will say one thing. I would say all the true patriotic Americans will never ever would consider American flag as a prop. True American champion who believes in American Constitution. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Patel. As for me, I believe the Constitution represents the laws that we found this country on. And I want to address this ordinance, specifically 2239, and the changes, particularly the rule prohibiting the use of prop during speeches. I understand it is a concern, and I want to clarify the intent. These rules are not about limiting free speech, but about maintaining order and ensuring respectful, focused debates. We have all seen the theatrics, how the theatrics and the grandstanding can overshadow the important issues that the residents face. By keeping our discussions centered on substance, we create a space where every voice can be heard and real solution can emerge. Now, some of us have asked about the symbols like the American flag and the Constitution, and yes, legally they can be considered props when used performatively. If you're going to use it as a performance and make a statement, yes, they can be used as a prop. But their true strength lies in our commitment to the values that they represent, the freedom, the equality, and the justice, not in how they are displayed during a speech. I know not everyone agrees with these rules, and that's your right. And I'm glad we respectfully, heard each other, which was a good thing. But our mission is to govern together, not to create division. My role is to maintain decorum so that this chamber remains a space for respectful dialogue and collaboration. And that's it. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Brescher.
No.
Councilmember Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Patil.
No.
Councilmember Pointer.
Yes.
Councilmember Shmuel.
Yes.
Council President Patel.
Yes. Moving on to Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 2240.